Hi, I'm Randy Altman with postPerspective. We're here with Dan Dome, who is lead editor and post AD on Late Night with Seth Meyers. Welcome.
Hey, Randy. Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you are able to talk to us today about the new workflow that was, how long ago did you guys have to start working remotely?
We had our last in-studio day on March 13th, and then we had a hiatus the following week. And then we found out we're going to be on hiatus even longer. So probably by that second week of quote unquote hiatus, we were doing, pre-production and workflow testing as far as, how are we going to shoot this? How are we going to transfer files? How are we going to get it on the air? All those questions.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to know about. So how did you guys come up with this workflow? And if you could describe what that workflow is.
So we're doing a combination of things. We have our network laptops that we're using to edit footage that's coming in for, like, let's say it's interviews or comedy pieces, and we're doing all that stuff locally, meaning on our home systems without involving our SAN or anything like that. So we're cutting interviews, we're cutting comedy pieces, and then we're sending links out for approval via Dropbox. We're sharing media via Dropbox because of the syncing features are just really great in order to up and download footage to all the various places that we need to send it. And then once a piece is approved and it's ready to go into the show, we know the timings are right, we know the graphics are right, we know spelling's correct, audio levels look good, video levels look good, and then we upload that back to Dropbox and back to our computers at 30 Rock, and we're virtually logging into our machines there to actually compile the show. So there's a few bits and pieces to the, building stuff remotely. And then there's a few bits and pieces to actually compiling the show on our systems back at home base.
And what do you edit on?
So we're still on Premiere. We launched on Premiere when the show started in February of 2014. We're still using an old version of Premiere just because it's solid and stable, and doing a daily show, we don't necessarily get like a ton of time to test and, oh, this has this bug, this one doesn't have this bug, but we have a stable version that we like for doing the show composite aspect of things. And then when we're back at 30 Rock and like editing remote pieces, we're using the newer versions of Premiere.
Makes sense. Now, there are a couple of different ways that Seth's been shooting. He's been doing his talking to the camera, and then he's also been having guests on. Can you talk about the different ways that you're shooting that?
Yeah, so some of the at-home studio stuff for him has been on iPads, iPhones, and then we're using Zoom to do interviews, and there's multiple records of that happening, and then the files are up and downloaded between the edit team, as well as our director is in on the interviews, setting up cameras and trying to get it to look as best as possible. And then once those interviews are done, the different records get uploaded to Dropbox. I have those set up to sync to my home computer onto a hard drive. So as soon as they say, hey, this file's up, I basically just sync locally on that folder that I know it's going to, and the media automatically downloads, and we simultaneously download it to our systems at 30 Rock, so it's sunk there as well. So we have multiple copies of it, and if we needed to hand off a project between myself or Devin or Tony, who are also editing pieces, we can do that pretty easily.
Okay. And any happy surprises that you've discovered working this way?
Happy surprises. I think, yeah, I mean, it's nice to interact with people via FaceTime and kind of like just like really just using all the tech that's possible has been a nice happy surprise that it's like, oh wow, this is working pretty well despite, you know, if the internet goes out or there's a power outage or something like that. We did have a situation where we thought we may lose power on the East Coast because of rains and winds and things like that. So we did have safeguards in place for that, like as far as like having an evergreen show that was ready to go for that night in case, you know, we did end up losing power and couldn't get that specific show together without you know, without power. It would have been terrible. But everything held up and it worked pretty well. So yeah, so it's, you know, there's certainly some challenges to working this way, but it's amazing that we are working and we can keep our mind on other things and just try and, you know, help and entertain people while this craziness is going on.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. I know it's a highlight of my evening. So
Awesome.
I thank you for that. And I thank you for taking the time and chatting with us.
Yeah, my pleasure, Randy. Thanks so much.